Inspired by a Marxist philosophy in Europe, a group of animals led by a pig named Old Major created a new country based on an idea they called animalism. This is the story of how the wonderful idea of total equality went horribly wrong. The year was 1927 and times were hard. No one at that time knew pigs could talk, let alone read. The pigs had apparently been reading the news from Russian Revolution and the Spanish Civil War with great interest. When Old Major discovered a book written by a group that would eventually form PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, he was inspired. He looked around himself and noticed the abundance of food coming out of the harvest never seemed to increase his or her fellow comrades' rations. He began to grow suspicious of the humans, and when he witnessed his fellow pig comrade being brutally slaughtered at the hands of Mr. Jones himself, he was outraged.
No animal in England is free. The life of an animal is misery and slavery. That is the plain truth. But is this simply part of the order of nature? Is it because this land of ours is so poor that it cannot afford a decent life to those who dwell upon it? No, comrades, 1,000 times no. The soil of England is fertile. Its climate is good. It is capable of affording food in abundance to an enormously greater number of animals than now inhabit it. This single farm of ours would support a dozen horses, 20 cows, hundreds of sheep, and all of them living in comfort and dignity. Why then do we continue in this miserable condition? Because nearly the whole of the produce of our labor is stolen from us by human beings. There, comrades, is the answer to all our problems. It is summed up in a single word: man. Man is the only real enemy we have. Remove man from the scene, and the root cause of hunger and overwork is abolished forever.
When Jones whipped the animals, they were infuriated and proceeded to chase Mr. Jones and his men off the farm in a spontaneous revolt. Inspired by Old Major's speech, the animals attempted to educate themselves on the concept of animalism. As Old Major had mentioned, the rebellion might not happen within their lifetime, but most animals remained hopeful nonetheless. One day, Mr. Jones, in a drunken state, had neglected to feed the animals.
Tell us about the night of the rebellion.
It was October 1927. We were starving, and we had been working hard all day, but Jones had been drinking and hadn't fed us. When we tried to get our food ourselves, he started beating us instead of feeding us. Can you imagine? We all grew quite angry and chased Mr. Jones off the farm.
So tell me, Bonnie, how did the animals take over the farm?
I was just a wee lass when it happened on the farm. It was the most amazing thing. My father and I were sitting around the table. I couldn't have been more than 6 when suddenly we heard a commotion out in the barn. We had just finished slaughtering a hog. We knew it was a prized hog. A beautiful thing. When we went out to the barn to see what the devil was happening, and all the animals were gathering around, and I swear I could hear a pig and animals singing. I thought maybe my father had slipped me some of his whiskey, but then when the commotion in the store shed, I saw my father and his men running towards the farm gate with the animals close behind. My mother grabbed my hand, packed a bag, and ran out the back door. After the Battle of the Cowshed, Snowball and Boxer were awarded Animal Hero First Class, and all things seemed well on Animal Farm.
I remember the day like it was yesterday. We had overthrown Old Jones, and Snowball and Napoleon wrote the 7 rules of animalism up onto the barn wall. I don't remember what the rules were, but I do remember that main one was 4 legs good, 2 legs bad.
We don't always drink whiskey.
But when we do, it's Napoleon's whiskey.
Because he told us to.
So call 1-800-GET-WHISKEY to get your bottle of Napoleon's whiskey. Because he told you to. It's important.
Napoleon, Snowball, and the other pigs began to gradually gain more and more power. With every change he made to gain power, he sent Squealer around to convince the other animals that each change was in the interest of bettering Animal Farm.
Tell us, when do you think the animals started gaining too much power? Or are you of the opinion that they never had too much power?
With their superior knowledge, it was natural that they would assume leadership. Some things I didn't understand, but hard work was one thing I did. I was willing to work hard for my colt's futures.
Comrades, you do not imagine, I hope, that we pigs are doing this in spite of selfishness and privilege. Many of us dislike apples and milk. I dislike them myself. It is for you that we are doing this. This is the reason we drink the milk and those apples is for you. Do you know what would happen if we pigs failed in our duty? Jones would come back.
At first, we all shared the harvest, and everything ran smoothly until
they started taking our apples and milk. Yep, that's when everything started to go wrong.
They needed to keep our apples and milk because it helped them to think. They said they ate the apples for our sake, not theirs. That's when they started to become more equal than us.
How foolish they were.
But it was hard to believe that they were taking advantage of us at the time because Squealer made it seem like each change seemed so
normal.
Yeah, so necessary.
When did Napoleon take your puppies?
When they were only a few weeks old when Napoleon took them away from Bluebell and me, promising us that he would educate them. I should have known that Napoleon was up to no good.
Did he actually do what he said he would do?
Nope. At the meeting one morning, Snowball and Napoleon were in a heated fight over whether or not the windmill should be built. Snowball was very persuasive, and we were about to vote for the windmill to be built when Napoleon made a very strange sound. My puppies came running into the yard, and I didn't recognize them. They had grown and looked very mean. They chased Snowball off the farm, and we never saw him again. I wish I had never given him my pups. I just know he's going to use them in a bad way.
After making people confess to crimes that they supposedly committed, Napoleon had scared the rest of the animals into obedience by killing them in front of all of the others. He gathered different comrades randomly and told us that we would either confess to the crimes that we had committed or he would set the dogs loose that had gathered around us. We were all too scared to say anything, but we were all wondering what he had done to deserve this. As soon as it was my turn to confess, I stood up, confessed, and then, after some dogs charged towards me, I fainted. I guess Napoleon thought I had a heart attack or something because he whistled for the dogs to stop and threw me onto a pile of dead animals. My friends were very upset but couldn't protest because Jesse's dogs kept threatening them, and then the sheep kept saying, 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. They were all quite sorrowful until Squealer told them that it was a good thing to kill animals like me because they would interfere with the success of the farm.
Why did Squealer say that Snowball was a traitor? Didn't Snowball fight for freedom in the Battle of Cowshed and win a medal?
I do seem to remember Snowball receiving medals from the Battle of Cowshed, but I must be wrong, because Napoleon is always right.
Do you always trust everything Squealer and Napoleon say?
Yes, because they are animals like me. I know they won't lie to us like the humans. I seem to remember a rule about, no animal shall kill another animal. But I suppose I am wrong, because Napoleon is always right. Plus, I really want to finish the windmill, because we've worked so hard on it. I just hope nothing bad happens to it.
One night there was a very windy storm and the windmill blew over. When the animals discovered it in the morning, they were dismayed, and Napoleon had to think of an answer to why the windmill blew over, because he didn't want them to know that he had miscalculated how thick the walls needed to be. Quickly, he and the other pigs came up with an answer for the other animals. The animals worked hard to replace the damage that had been done to the windmill. Boxer worked so hard that at times he seemed to be 3 horses in one. Little did he know how ungrateful Napoleon was for his hard work.
So tell me, what are your thoughts about Boxer's death?
I knew all along that this animalism thing wouldn't work. I knew it would go straight to their heads. I just can't believe those pigs would do that to my innocent comrade Boxer. Why would they sell his hide for money?
I thought Squealer said the car was just mismarked.
Yeah, right. I can read just as well as them, and they aren't fooling me. I almost venture to say that I'd rather have Jones back, 'cause at least he doesn't make us say something we didn't do. The only thing the pigs haven't done wrong is trade with the humans.
Napoleon progressively gained more and more power. The animals' lives were hard. There were times when it seemed to the animals that they worked longer hours and fed no better than they had done in Jones's day. They were almost always tired and hungry, but they were still happy because they were working for themselves, not a master. And according to Squealer, Their lives were much better than in Jones's day. Also, hardly anyone could remember what days were like before the rebellion days. One night, however, things changed.
Hey, nice to meet you.
I'm interested in buying your rations and your wood pile. How much are you willing to give me?
75%.
And the rest goes to us?
Well, except for the 5% for the animals, but we're thinking of decreasing their rations.
All right. Done deal.
Good man.
Could I have your attention? First of all, I'd like to thank Napoleon for having us over. I've had a splendid evening, and I know you all have too. Secondly, I'd like to recognize Napoleon's utter brilliancy in making Jones' utter failure of a farm an actual success. His animals work harder for longer hours than all of our animals combined. Give it up for Animal Farm.
Thank you. Yes, I believe I've done a great deal around here to make this old piece of land a business once again. I believe the secret to my success is largely due to my manager, Squealer. He assures the animals that they are working for themselves, so they do not realize they only get 5% of the harvest.
So, in honor of Animal Farm.
Please, I forgot to mention, call it the Manor Farm. I always hate to remind myself of the childish animal days of associating with Snowball.
As you please, Manor Farm. Napoleon's animals work harder for more hours each day, receive less food, and accomplish more things in a day than any of our animals. We should all take a lesson from our experience today. Yes, a toast to the success of Animal Farm.
We wasted so much of our lives serving the needs of those pigs without even knowing it. And for animals like Benjamin and I, there isn't a whole lot of spirit left in us now. I'd always thought that the pigs were making changes for the better, but now I know how wrong I was. I can't believe that animalism could go wrong. It seemed like such a perfect plan until those pigs ruined it. I'll never forget that night when I finally realized the truth about animalism. This is my message to all of my fellow comrade animals. Do not let one of your comrades gain too much control over you and your family and friends' lives. They will become corrupt, and your lives will begin to serve only their needs.
Did you ever have a moment of doubt about capitalism and whether greed's a good idea to run on?
Well, first of all, tell me, is there some society you know that doesn't run on greed? You think Russia doesn't run on greed? You think China doesn't run on greed? What is greed? Of course, none of us are greedy. It's only the other fellow who's greedy.